So it's been some time since I've been on a live, and yeah, you might have noticed that I'm not posting as much anymore in stories and things like that. To be completely honest with you, I mean, I'd love to post more, but I just find it very time consuming. And that's, speaking of time, that is one of the reasons why I got on today, because I want to talk to you about time. I want to talk to you about commitment. I want to talk to you about being accountable, and really being intentional in terms of your long-term goals, like your vision. Whatever it is that you're specifically hoping for or working towards right now, this is why I wanted to talk to you today. It can be very global in terms of, where do I see my life? Where do I see myself in 10, 15 years from now? Or it can be very specific, like, where do I see my relationship in 10 years from now? Where do I see my health in 10 years from now? I think a lot of people are going about life right now sort of like a leaf in the wind. It's sort of like, I'm over here. Oh no, I'm over here. Like it's sort of like life is happening to us rather than, we're saying, no. I want to be in the driver's seat of my life, and this is where I'm going to go. So create your vision, and then, reverse engineer. It's sort of like, okay, so what are the steps that I need to do in order to obtain that vision that I have? And it sounds great until you start writing these things down on paper and you look at them and you're kind of like, okay, I have to do that. I have to do that. That means, I need to do that. And it's sort of like, that seems like a lot of work, and I feel like over the last couple of years, I feel like I've been a little bit like the leaf in the wind. Sort of, I had this sort of, idealistic version of what my life will be, but I wasn't carving the path to it very well. Like, I had really loose sort of ideas in my head, and I tend to be a person that I think is, or has been, I like to say, more of a dreamer, more of unfocused, like, dreamer than I've been more focused. And I'm not sure if I mentioned this before or not, but I did get, I, as a psychotherapist, decided to go to a clinical psychologist and get some testing myself for adult ADHD, because frankly, so many of my clients were coming to my office, like, talking about this, and there's part of me that, I'll be very honest with you, like, was rolling my eyes and kind of going, oh my God, like, you don't have adult ADHD. You are simply completely distracted, which most people, adults, are, in their adult life, because of too many things pulling them in two different directions, whether it's work, life, or just social media. I mean, we are distracted constantly. And again, I think I spoke about this once before. This is one of the reasons I am not on social media as much anymore, because I am a human being, and like, I wish I could have a mind of steel and not be distracted, but I mean, the internet seems to know us better than we know ourselves. So it's freaking creepy how you can be talking to your spouse or child about getting a new rice cooker, and all of a sudden you're open up your social media to make a post and you get thrown an advertisement for, who would think, a rice cooker. And you're like, oh, I want to check that out. And there we go, down the path of wasting our time, right? And that's, how I started this off. It's sort of like, how can we become more intentional about our days and structure our days more, and kind of constantly like being more and more self-aware is where am I spending my time? Doing a time audit is something that, like my scattered brain went in about 3,000 different directions this morning. Like, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. And then, what I do in times like that is I just take out a blank piece of paper and I kind of put all these thoughts down. And then when I look at it, I'm like, okay, this is telling me I need to do a time audit with my days. Like, if I block out 3 hours, which is what I did this morning, just to kind of just, so many different things. And I realized I need to do a time audit. I need to know how much time I'm spending on all these different areas of my life that are super important, business related, mainly business, because I'm talking about business right now. But, it's sort of like we like to think that we're very efficient, with our time, but we're not. We're not. And we got to start looking at our time and kind of going, is this serving my long-term vision, or is this depleting my long-term vision? Is this something that I would call I call it self-indulgence time, it's sort of like where you're going to gift yourself by doing this. It's sort of like you time, and we all have different me time, and where we feel like we're going to gift ourselves. And to me, in my mind, I have this sort of 30 minutes a day thing in my head. I'm just going to give myself 30 minutes a day of doing my guilty pleasure. And for me right now, I do have a creative mind. I do like recipes, and so that might be baking for me. It might be cooking, or what it tends to be more is watching videos of cooking or baking, which I gotta start reining that in. It's, and I usually do it in bed, and that's not a good thing. So it's just, you gotta realize how this is not good. Because if I were to open up a book and I'm committed to reading at least 30 minutes a day now, if not 45 minutes. I tend to do it in the morning. But if I would continue that exercise at night in bed, I know for sure that after 10 minutes, I would be asleep, which is fine, which is why I moved the reading that I was trying to do at night into the morning, because it just showed me I'm tired. My mind is tired and I fall asleep. And that's a good thing. Right now, the way I'm doing it, I'm robbing my time. So I'm either going to give up that guilty pleasure at night, or I will set a timer and say, maybe 15 minutes of a video like this, and then the following 15 minutes will be reading, which means I'll be out like a light. So that's what I mean. We have to be responsible and we have to be accountable. Now, In terms of my clients, I was thinking about this. The type of clients that I love to work with are the ones that are committed to making a change in their life. And I'll be completely honest with you, like I get really down about my work and discouraged about my work because I can't tell you how many times that I will have a client come in, whether it's couples or whether it's individuals. It tends to be couples more, but it's sort of like this like enthusiasm that they have. It's sort of like they decided to come to therapy. They decided to do something for themselves or for their relationship. And they're, very enthusiastic and gung-ho. And they leave the therapy session, unless they're just sort of making this up to me and just trying to appease me, but they're like, oh, this is very good. Like, I'm so glad I came. You're making a lot of sense, yada, yada. And then crickets. It's sort of like, Some people will ask, so what do you think, Doc? Like, when should I come back next? And I've never been the type of person that would go, well, I really feel like if you want to make the changes you want to make, you should come consecutively every week. I don't know, and sort of like, I think we're sort of brainwashed by the college to like, you can't, coerce like clients to come back to you. Like, clients are vulnerable and you don't want them to think that they depend on you. So like I've sort of like really went in the opposite direction. I'm like, whatever you can do. I realize you could have financial constraints, you could have time constraints. I don't want to stress you up more by telling you, you should be coming. But you know what? Like now I'm just going to say it like very point blank. If you're not going to commit yourself to like a weekly hour because like, this is important to you for, I don't know how many consecutive weeks, then you're not going to get where you want to go. Like you're just not. It's the same thing as me doing an audit of my time, or looking at my long-term vision and going, okay, this is where I want to be. Therefore, I need to be accountable and committed to doing these tasks daily. Otherwise I am a leaf in the wind. I'm being pulled in all different directions and I have no bumper rails, in terms of how I'm leading my life. There's no structure. And I am a type A type of person. Like I love creating in my office through writing, through ideas. I love creating in other ways in my life as well. But I need, it's just like when you follow a recipe, you need steps, you need structure, you need measurements. Otherwise, it can be a complete disaster. It's no difference in having, a vision of your business or a vision of, your relationship or your finances. It's sort of like, it doesn't just happen in the background. It's like, I don't know what people think sometimes, but like, and I'm guilty of it as well. It's sort of like, oh, I'm sure it's all going to work out. Like, I'm sure it's all going to work out. No, it's not. Like, not unless you make these changes that you need to in your life, So, yeah, and I'm just looking at the clients that have been the most successful in my world, and these are the clients that have committed. It's like, when they don't come back And granted, I'm not saying like I'm some fantastic like therapist that they're like, oh, maybe we didn't connect, and that's a completely different story. If we didn't connect, that's fine. But if it's more like, I just didn't make this a priority in my life, then you're not going to get to the point where you want to go. You're going to find yourself, with a lot of regrets down the road, because life happens, as you know, way too quickly. Like, we're already at the end of March, and I feel Christmas was just finished, So, and wait till like the warmer weather comes, right? Like it's going to be spring. It's Easter this weekend, and in a blink of an eye, we're gonna like be back to school. That's the way like these next few months go for me anyway. So I want my clients to be not just interested, but committed to change. And I'll be completely honest with you, the ones that make the change are the ones that aren't simply interested, but they're committed and they're hungry for change. So that's what I want. And the type of sessions we have, I mean, when I look forward to my sessions, these are with clients that obviously I can be my complete self too, like my authentic self, which is the type of person who has been known to swear in the therapy office from time to time. And I am the type of person that will tell you the truth. So if you don't want to hear the truth, then it's best that we don't connect, because I go from the premise of, if I don't tell you the truth about what's happening, like after you sort of give me, the 90-minute lowdown, then who will? You don't tend to be completely honest with your partner. It's sort of a bit of a rarity, because, if you're completely vulnerable and honest with your partner, these times do happen, but they're rare. They're rare because you don't want to risk losing that person. If you were to be completely honest with all your like odd behaviors, all your guilt, all your shame, that is so difficult to expose, then in your mind, even though, your relationship should be a lot solid than what you might be thinking, is that you risk losing this person. Like, if I was to expose everything about myself, would this person still be by my side? Well, yeah, you made that commitment, in front of the altar. But, we second guess these things sometimes. So it tends not to be your partner. And friends, hey, you know what? Friends tend to love you, and they don't want to hurt your feelings. So they tend to be giving you more idiot advice, or like or I shouldn't know that. They may have a lot of great experiences, and they may know a lot about the situation, and maybe they are professionals. Maybe you have a therapist that's a great friend, and it's sort of, they're going to give you research, evidence-based advice, and maybe it is very good. But if it's it's not somebody that is professional, then you might not get that advice that is that accurate. They may love you so much that they see you hurting and they might advise you to leave your relationship or stay in your relationship for financial reasons or security or whatever that is. But it tends to not be such a great situation when you do that. And then, do you go to a parent? Like, well, your mom or your dad, in most situations, hopefully love you so much. They don't want to see you and they don't want to see this happening, and they don't want to see that happening. And they don't even want to hear about it because they don't, and you don't want to tell them because they got enough stuff going on in their life. You don't want to stress them out even more. And usually that's the same with friends as well. So, for a therapist or a coach, like, yes, it's more expensive, but that's what you're paying them for. You're paying them to be a good listener and to give to have their full attention on you. That's a rare thing nowadays too, because we're pulled in so many directions. So you got to think about it that way, and that's why to me, it's my obligation to be truthful with you. It's sort of, because if I'm not going to be truthful to you, who can you rely on to be truthful for you? And so many of my clients aren't even truthful towards themselves. Like, in other words, they're telling themselves lies. They're telling themselves lies of, well, I'm not here in life right now because of, like, my trauma, or, my childhood, and it's so much easier for that person because they grew up differently than I did, but my situation was like this. That's just a lie to yourself. I honestly feel that everybody, if they're committed and they're accountable towards themselves and they have this vision, and they honestly, I know the term's used over and over, but do the work, gain self-awareness of their behaviors through incorporating more mindfulness in their life through the act. This is proven over and over in years, in history about, the art, the practice of meditation. Meditation is what builds the muscle that allows you to be more mindful of your life. Your day-to-day life, to be more in the moment, in your active living. That's mindfulness. Meditation is the tool, the exercise that allows you to become more mindful throughout your day. Mindful in terms of what to say, whether you're responding, whether you're regulating your emotions. That is the act in being very self-aware. That's mindfulness. But meditation, it's something that you should be practicing every single day. So, that's what I strive for, and that's what I want all my clients to strive for. I've said it over and over here, and I'll say it again, that everybody has to become more responsible for their feelings, their thoughts throughout the day, and obviously their behaviors. I don't feel that one person has it easier than the other. it might, I mean, or can't obtain the same goals, visions as another person. That one person has it easier than another. How can you even say that? Like, I mean, you have no idea what this person's life, all their experiences that they have gone through, you know, like, are you somehow observing their life? Like, are you in their homes? Like, are you in their cars? Or, you know, are you part of all their conversations that they had in life? Have you seen them suffer in silence? And everybody suffers, you know. So, like, how can you even say that? Oh, it's easier for you, you know? You know, like, for example, like medications, you know, for anxiety and depression, I see them as great tools, but I, like, for short times, you know, because, like, this is something that a lot of people don't realize either. When all these clinical, when all the clinical research is done in the laboratories or with rats or whatever it is on you know, antidepressants and anti-anxiety medications, etc. These are shorter terms, like, I mean, 6 weeks and things like that, right? Like 8 weeks. They're not meant to be taken for your entire life. And doctors often don't, you know, inform their patients about this. It's sort of, it's meant to be used as a tool. Just like, you know, every time you get a headache, your first response shouldn't be to take, you know, an anti-inflammatory like a Tylenol or an Advil or anything like that. Like, I mean, it's sort of like, wait a minute, why am I having this headache over and over, you know? So it's meant to be sort of a momentarily, like, type of relief until you actually find the answer, and something that, you know, gets you out of the pain in a short period of time. So, you know, like, brings down your anxiety for a short period of time, so you're able to see the big picture, or able to, you know, get you back on track. I mean, the best analogy that I use always in my office is sort of like, you know, you're drowning in the middle of the lake. You're treading water frenetically. You're just trying to keep your head above water. And, you know, here is the medication then, which is acting like a raft that gets you to the shore. And now that you're in a safe place, let's see what else we can do through meditation, through mindfulness, you know, like cognitive behavior therapy, for example, reframing your thoughts, noticing how you are creating those thoughts and what those thoughts are telling you. You know, being mindful of the narrative that's going on in your head. We need these tools, but they're not meant to be taken forever. That was not the purpose of creating them. So there's lots of different things you can do once you're on the shore. You don't need to you know, strap that raft on your back and have it as part of your life. Okay, I truly believe that. So I don't feel it's easier for one person than it is for another person in any area of life. You know, you could be saying that about relationships. You could say about, you know, obesity, for example. It just means that, you know, it might be some shorter term, it might be harder for you in certain areas, than in others for, the beginning of your journey, but I think we all suffer with our own. We all suffer, We're all human. No one gets off scot-free in life, in anything. So you got to stop comparing yourself to other people. Because what's super easy for you, chances are it's not super easy for the other person, and vice versa. What's hard for you is often not so hard for other people. And it's sort of we can't look like that. We have to look at what we want instead. What is our vision? So that's about it. I'm being completely honest with you right now, and just saying that if you want change to happen, we all have to become more responsible and accountable. And if you don't know where to begin, just jot down on a piece of paper right now, what do I want? And the second question you ask, because that's gonna show how this is what's gonna put the fuel in the car that's gonna get you there, is why do I want it? Because without the why, like, you're not gonna have the drive to get there. You always have to remind yourself of the why. That's gonna put the fuel in the car. Okay? That's gonna help you to stop looking in the rearview mirror, and it's going to take your vision off the dashboard. That's not good either. You can't look in the immediate future. You have to look at the long-term vision, because there's been times in my life too that I was told, like, if you do X, Y, Z, time is not a factor. You'll get there next month. It's like, no. Like, let's be honest. This is going to take a while. Depending on, how big your vision is. So, and everything in life is worth that amount of time, right? You can't look at how quickly am I going to get this. You just have to look at why it's important to me. And I'm going to break it down in small tasks and stay true to that. And I'm just going to keep on doing that every day. And I'm telling you, you are going to see some amazing progress. Like, you will see yourself moving ahead. And once you see yourself moving ahead, you don't really care about how long it's going to take you anymore, because you got some rubber on the road now. You got some traction. And that's what I mean. Combine that with fuel in the car, which is your why. Who cares how long it's going to get you there? You know that you're moving ahead. So anyway, hopefully that's some food for thought. And last thing I'm going to say to you is realize that, nothing in life is either good or bad, right or wrong. It's your thoughts that make it so, right? So if there's something that is feeling very discomforting in your life right now, or very unsettled, or you have a lot of fear around it, ask yourself, what thoughts are creating this narrative right now in my head? Am I, future tripping? Like, am I saying it's going to have this sort of outcome? Like, why am I calling this a bad thing? You have no control over the future, the only thing you have control of is the thoughts that you allow in your head. So start asking yourself, who says? Who says it's going to turn out like that? You know, like, just become the guard of your mind, right? Like, I'm only going to allow certain thoughts in my head right now. Thoughts of what's going to get me to the vision that I'm envisioning right now. Those are the only thoughts. So, it's not, again, nothing is neither good or bad. It's your thoughts that make it so. And it's just so true. So whenever you're catching yourself thinking, this is bad, or this is good news, or this feels like this, or this doesn't feel like that, it's sort of like, check your narrative in your head and just say, no, I'm going to change those thoughts. And it's so easy. Like, you have control over that. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and happy Easter. Okay, bye-bye.